I'm Myke Shrews.
And I'm Tivis.
And you're listening to
The Munster Cast.
Episode 24. All right, welcome back, everybody, to the Munster Cast, the podcast where we watch and talk about the Munsters. Today, I am here with, as always, my co-host Tivis, who's shaking his head at me because I screwed up the intro and deleted it and redid it.
Yeah, I want this preserved for just history. Here's a little peek behind the scene of our pre-show rambling. What episode is this? 24. Oh, we're getting close to 25. That'll be next week. Then we start to show this is episode 25. We just went over the episode number.
Listen here, we can't all be, Grandpa Munster. Some of us have to be Herman. So just be happy it's me this week. And every week, basically. All right, guys. Real quick, before we dive into everything on this fantabulous show, I want to let everyone know, and you can see in the video anyways, we have Munster stickers, MunsterCast logo stickers. If you want to see a cool picture of those, for people who don't watch the video, you can go and check out our Instagram account, which is TheMunsterCast. It's on Instagram. And we just want to know if anyone would be interested in these before we buy like a crap ton of them, so that way we can get everything figured out for all y'all. Also, you can find us on Twitter at the MunsterCast and Facebook at the MunsterCast
and Instagram.
And then scroll. I already said Instagram when I
did you? Oh yeah, the stickers
with the stickers. So yeah, you can find us on all social media at the MunsterCast,
except TikTok.
Except TikTok yet. It might happen. We'll see.
If it happens, it's all going to be you.
You can also find us on YouTube at the MunsterCast, and there you can see our pretty ugly faces. So yeah, awesome. What else is there? Oh, and you can also email us your questions, concerns, stories, anything you have related to the Munsters. At the MunsterCast at outlook.com, which is where we've been getting a bunch of cool questions that we answer both on the air and sometimes off air. So if you want to share a story with us, please do so as well. We would love it. Even if you want to send an audio file of your story, we can pop it into the episode so people can hear your voice if you want to have your voice heard like that. If you don't, of course, also want to just pop onto the podcast with us. So and speaking of stories and stuff related to Munsters, Tivis, do you have any fun shit that you did this past weekend? Well, it would be the 2 weekends ago now when this episode comes out. So,
well, so as we are recording,
yeah,
this past Saturday was Astronomicon up in Livonia, Michigan, and I got to meet Jeff Daniel Phillips and get his autograph, which is behind me. And, I got to chat to him a bit. I got a little bit starstruck. I won't lie.
Okay.
And I forgot to mention that we were doing a podcast until my wife brought it up for me, thankfully.
Thankfully.
Yeah. And, but he was a real nice guy. He loved, I wore the 50th Munster shirt. He was telling me about how, Daniel Roebuck is possibly more of a fan than Rob Zombie is. And to the point where he was referring to him as a Munsters historian. So between him and Rob Zombie, they got a ton of details, down while on set and stuff. And so this only helped reassure me that this movie is going to be awesome. Not only that, but he's like, I know of Jeff from, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., his brief character on there, and he was on The Gifted. I did not know that he was the Geico caveman, so that's cool.
Oh, I didn't know that either.
Yeah, he had a bunch of photos of them out for people to sign if they wanted. But I felt a bit bad because right next to him was Richard Blake, who was playing Dr. Henry Augustus Wolfgang. Mm-hmm. And I only brought enough money to talk to Jeff. I unfortunately ignored Richard, and I feel bad about that. But also, I didn't know anything. Like, I wasn't a Game of Thrones fan, and right. I'm not a huge horror fanatic like you are. I'm sure you would have a ton to talk to him about, but I unfortunately, so I stuck to just Jeff. And as we're walking away to go check out the rest of the con, I'm thinking to myself, all the questions that I wanted to ask him that are now flooding back. And I'm like, oh, son of. So I go back by to talk to him, but no one's around. He's gone. Oh, yeah. For audio listeners, I have the photo of us together up on screen right now. So, he was also nice enough. He was giving away his photo for free.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Not to throw Richard under the bus, but he wanted an extra $20 for a photo with the autograph.
That's throwing him under the bus.
Yeah, I know. But anyway, so we go back by. He's gone. He went outside to check out the Munster coach that was there, which we were trying to figure out, is this a real Munster coach or not? Because we walked past the security guy. He's like, oh, did you see Eddie's here? And we're like, wait, Eddie? Is Butch Patrick in the building? Turns out no, it was probably someone they worked with. It was just a fan's recreation of the Munster coach. Jeff signed it even. It's on his Instagram. Oh, nice. The Munster coach was awesome. It had like a tiny woof in the back. It was so cool. Like
I saw pictures of Jeff with it through some other Munster Instagram accounts that we follow and stuff. So I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. So,
yeah, so we went and did some more con stuff. I saw my old comic book guy there with Dirk Manning, Dirk, you cut in front of us in the food line. I'm not going to let you forget that. We got a photo with Danhausen, who people don't know, that's a wrestler. And then it was about a half an hour wait for the photo to get printed. So I went back around and I saw Jeff didn't have much of a line. So I got back in line. He's like, hey, you're back. I'm like, yeah, I had some questions if you don't mind. He's like, yeah, well, yeah, we'll see what I can answer.
Right.
All right. So like, what's the deal? Why haven't I heard anything about Marilyn and Eddie? And I could just see on his face, he remembered I did a podcast and thought I was fishing for stuff, which granted, I kind of was, but it wasn't for the show. It's because I'm genuinely curious. And he went straight into PR mode. He's like, well, that's Rob's thing. He releases it. I signed a bunch of NDRs. I'm like, no, it's okay. I don't want to, put us off on this weird professional foot here. I'm like, I was just, but, yeah, he once again, he's like, look, between Daniel and Rob, fans of the original show will have nothing to worry about. And after we got the casting news that Lester is going to be in the movie this past week.
Yeah. Lester, Lily's brother.
I'm at the point where I'm like, I should have asked him how he was playing Charlie, because I feel like we're going to get every obscure family member in this movie. And I'm so hyped. I went from being skeptical and worried last fall to overly excited. And Jeff is he was an amazing person. If you get the chance to meet this guy, please do so. I'm horrible with social interactions, and I've never done this type of stuff until this year. And he was very nice to me. He was patient. He's a cool dude.
Right.
So shout out to Jeff.
That's awesome. I like it when the talent, the actors, or celebrities, or whatever you want to call them, actually interact with you and have the discussions with you. And I understand like the whole having to watch out for what he says too, of course, because
that's the last thing I wanted to do was get him in trouble.
Clearly, these guys have been on like doing the con stuff the last few months, so the movie is completed. It's just Rob Zombie dropping stuff here and there as he's editing and stuff like that, most likely. Because I thought they finished it back in like October or November or something like that.
I think we saw a story like that, yeah.
So, but they might do reshoots and things like that. So you always have to watch what you say. Only big time celebrities really, blurt out, "Oh yeah, I'm in that movie." Like Doc Ock talking about being in the Spider-Man movie before it was even released. So,
but Richard, if you just somehow stumble across us, I'm sorry. I genuinely feel horrible that I didn't talk to you, but I'm like, I didn't want to take time away from the people who were actually coming to see you, take photos and stuff, and were fans of your horror flicks. Because Jeff had one of those in front of me. There was someone there with a Blu-ray that he was so excited to get signed. I'm like, man, I wish I knew more of your films other than your one-off Marvel stuff.
But it's the fans that like their individual, like their random roles and stuff like that. Those are the fans that are most likely gonna stick with them longer term, because they'll be like, "Oh, I remember him in this, or I remember him in that," just the little side roles. So that's awesome, man. I'm glad that you enjoyed it and that you actually got a chance to talk with him as a person, not just like, I've been seeing some people doing the interviews with these guys, and when they do their interview stuff, they're running the circuit for 6 months or more, and they're just tired of that stuff. So I always like seeing people just interacting as human beings instead of.
That's what I just wanted to talk to him as a fan. Like, I don't know if he watched it as a child or not. That's one of the things I should have asked him. Not well, it all in his life. It didn't have to be a child, but because we're not children. But he did tell me that, because I asked it one more question. I asked him, like, how long did it take you to get the laugh down? And he thought about that for a second. He's like, not very long, but one thing I want people to know is I'm not going to do an interpretation. I'm going to do my version of Herman. And I told him, like, look, as a fan of Doctor Who, like massive fan, there's a ton of people who either no longer want to be associated with this show because they're done acting or have passed away. They have been recast, and always better when someone sees what comes before them. And I even said this to him, sees what comes before them and turns the character into their own. It is always for the better.
Give a little bit of an interpretation to it.
Yes.
I think there's only been like one person that has donned the Herman makeup and name that has even come close to even resembling what Fred did. And we'll see him later on in one of the movies we end up watching. So so for him to say that, I really appreciate that, because I don't want him to come in there and give me something I already had and just try and screw it up. I'd rather him interpret what he thinks Herman's like laugh is or whatever, as long as it's not scary. Like a scary little but anyways, that's awesome, man. Do you got anything else, or do you want to just dive right into the episode?
Again, I can't wait to talk to him after the movie comes out. I'm damn sure gonna go see him again. I may not be, know a lot of his horror films, but he made a fan out of me just from talking. So
awesome. That's awesome, dude. Now you should go watch all of his horror stuff too.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
With your wife. Awesome.
So, diving into this movie now. This TV show.
Yeah. Let's dive on in there.
Herman Munster, Shutterbug, Season 2, Episode 4. Aired October 7, 1965. Written by Dick Conway, Norm Liebman, and Ed Haas had a hand. Directed by Earl Bellamy, who we last saw in Lily Monster Girl Model. And he only has one more episode after this. So the guest list include Herbie Faye as Rod, Jess Kirkpatrick as Sergeant Baker, Bob Morgan as the officer, who for most of his career, he did a lot of stunts.
Okay.
Like an impressively long list. So that's why I feel like this is something notable to say.
Right.
Like, good on this guy. Alma Murphy as the little lady, who you may remember as one of the two old ladies from Munsters on the Move who came to buy the Munster banner.
And they were looking at all their old relics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. She played Susan. Jeffrey County, also known as Bill Kuntz, as Daniel Boone.
Oh, yeah.
Who he was the first victim in Frankenstein's Granddaughter, which came prior to this show. He mostly is known for his work in Westerns.
What is Frankenstein's Granddaughter? I've never heard of that one.
No, Frankenstein's Daughter.
Okay. I was like, Granddaughter.
We've mentioned that movie before, but yeah.
Awesome.
And then finally, Joe DeSantis as Lou.
As Lou. All right. So Herman Munster Shutterbug, as Tivis said, October 7th, 1965. Herman takes up photography and accidentally snaps a picture of two men escaping from a bank robbery. The robbers track him down and decide to hold up the Munsters until the heat is off. I'm sorry, I messed that up because they say hole up instead of hold. So I had to like correct as I was reading. You got hole up. No, you got hold up.
Yeah, I don't know. Hole up sounds like it could be right.
Maybe. I don't know. All right, let's go. Let's dive into this.
So we open with the family as they sit on the couch, and once again, the logo is overlaid against them.
Yep.
Still not a fan. Like, I understand they used to do this a lot with the house, but I don't like it over the cast. There's just something off-putting about it. I don't know why. I can't explain it. Grandpa tells someone that if they plan to shoot them, to get it over with already.
Yep.
The camera slowly
they're all lined up on the couch.
Mm-hmm. And you see the camera pans to Herman, who is busy setting up a camera for a family photo shoot, telling them that he's almost ready.
And a lot of lights.
What?
And a lot of lights.
Oh, so many lights.
So many lights. And back then, these are the lights too that would pop. So every time you would take the photo, that was it. The light, you had to change the bulb and everything too.
Oh,
so
they'll pop, all right.
Yeah.
Eddie, Marilyn, and Lily begin complaining that they've been sitting there for half an hour already. Like, come on, can we get this? Lily's like, look, I'm glad you found yet another hobby.
Yeah.
But can we get a move on already? Like, let's go. I got stuff to do. Like, it makes you wonder, is she really happy that he found a new hobby? And so he continues to get the perfect lighting. You know, he's like taking readings of Grandpa's face.
Yeah.
To get the shadows perfect. And they're just getting angrier and angrier. And finally, he's like, all right. Don't move. Then he goes over and tells Lily, hey, bunch over. You just told him not to move. And she's like, what are you doing? He's like, it's on a timer. I want to be in the photo as well.
Yeah. And him moving onto the couch and pushing everybody just screws up all of his light metering anyways. So
yeah. So he's like, everyone say cheese when I count down. And Grandpa's like, can I say Limburg? Which Limburg is a German cheese.
Yeah.
Which is where Herman was built.
Nice. That's cool.
So Herman begins counting down, and on he counts up 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
And it explodes, just straight up explodes, covering everyone in ash. And Herman's just sitting there like, I don't remember setting that setting.
Which is cool as like retroactively watching, like, you know, going back and rewatching this and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
This intro, because right after that we go straight to the credit or to the opening intro. It kind of reminded me of like an intro for loosely anyways, The Simpsons, because they're all on the couch. Something stupid happens to them, and then we go into the show. So I was like, awesome.
Well, it's funny you say that because there's going to be something come up that reminds me of another modern adult animation.
I mean, if you think about it, really, is Homer actually like really lifted from Herman? Because he does a lot of the stupid shit that
that's a really good pondering. There could be some, because I mean, there's a lot of things that people take in from their childhoods that they don't realize they recycle. Like George Lucas being a fan of Shazam and accidentally stealing the Death Star from that. That is a real thing. Look it up. The Death Star was in Shazam comics.
Yeah.
Or Captain Marvel, I should say, back in the day. And, it may have been pure coincidence that it was just buried in his head. But
yeah,
that could be the same case with Homer here. Because there is
let's start an
crazy resemblance.
we can start an argument that off air with everybody else, they can argue about it, but Star Wars is a ripoff of everything. It's just George Lucas couldn't get the rights to do anything that he wanted to do, so he was like, all right, I'm gonna rip everything else off then. Screw you guys.
But good on him. You want to make something,
he found a way to do it.
Yeah. All right, just like Snyder with his Star Wars. We're getting way off topic.
So we got after the credits, we come in. Eddie's there with
Lily.
Lily, yes, thank you.
She's like, hey, I need you to practice for a full hour. And he's like, no. Dad told me we were going to go look for neat stuff under rocks today. And she's like, oh no, he's downtown practicing his stupid camera. Get to work on the organ.
He's doing another dang hobby.
So he's like, look, you need to practice your dirges because you're probably going to want to follow in the family business and start your own parlor, which Herman doesn't have a parlor. He works at a parlor. Yeah.
Well, maybe he would be, better than his dad and actually own the place. Yeah. We want our kids to be better than us.
That's true. That's true. Honestly, Herman is probably on his way to owning that place with how long he's been there.
Yeah.
And also the fact that the guy in charge thinks that Herman thinks of him like a father now.
Yeah. So now we get Grandpa coming up and hearing Eddie playing the organ. I think that was. Yeah.
He's playing the funeral, the dirges.
And Grandpa instantly, he's just like, you want to get better, just take this freaking pill, kid.
Well, he starts off with, he's like, hey, I heard you playing my favorite song. By the way, I have this new thing. Herman's not around. Eat it.
Yeah. He's just like,
that's what this is. He wants a new guinea pig, and Eddie's right there.
Yeah, it's funny. And it doesn't do anything
immediately.
And it's funny because I thought the whole episode was going to be based on him giving the pill to him. Luckily, it wasn't. So, because we've seen enough of those, guinea pig kid episodes already here from Grandpa.
Oh, just wait.
Advantage. So then Lily comes back in and
hold on. After it gives him the pill,
it plays
Eddie goes to play the piano or the organ, and it sounds like a bugle. Now, how in the world did a magic pill that Eddie took change the sound of an organ?
Maybe he hit the right keys at the right time.
Yeah. Well, Grandpa's like, I got to stop watching the racing ball while making these pills. So he is distracted while making these experimental drugs that he is force feeding his family.
Yeah.
Oh, my Grandpa is the worst.
He is the worst.
So Eddie goes back to playing, the dirges, and Lily comes in. She's like, did you hear a bugle? And the Raven takes the blame, which is very nice of him. Like, that is so nice.
Because in the next few episodes, he's a dick.
Yeah, he is. So Lily yells at him and tells him to leave Eddie alone while he practices. And Eddie's like, well, hey, how come he's Dad's downtown taking photos? And she's like, oh, he's got a lot of ambitions with, he's trying to get into, what is it, some kind of magazine or something?
Yeah.
And Eddie's just like, oh, okay then. So that's all right. He can ignore me then.
It's the 60s, Tivis. Just remember that.
Yeah. Well, this is where Lily's like, well, I hope he stays out of trouble, unlike last time, where he tried to build a ship in a bottle and we had to break him out. Now, we saw him making a ship in a bottle and he was cheating. He had the glass already broken and stuff. Also, these jokes are getting very reminiscent of Family Guy format, because this is like the third episode now where they mention a past hobby of his that we don't see, where something has gone awry. I mean, and that is kind of like Family Guy. Well, we were talking about earlier with The Simpsons. This is.
Yeah, I think that with Family Guy, though, they jump to a scene of that dumb stuff happening, and this doesn't, thankfully. I mean, clearly they probably just didn't want to have the budget. They just, the throwaway line for them. So,
yeah. Well, as she says, I hope he stays out of trouble. We had to break him out. She rolls her eyes and the scene like freezes for a second before transitioning to the Grand.
Yeah.
Where we are introduced to two people planning to rob a bank.
Again, another bank robbery. This town is horrible for crooks, bro.
Then, go ahead.
And they're bad bank robbers too. Like, bad people, I should say.
We'll get to that.
So they're talking about how they're gonna go in, rob the bank, blah blah blah. And then the guy's like, yeah, if anyone gets in our way, we'll pow, pow, pow them or something. And they do like the gesture of the gun thing, like an old Western, like moving their fingers back and forth with both hands. I was like, oh, really? Okay. That's where we're going.
And then cut to Herman in the park.
Yep. This is when he
sees
go on.
Oh, this is where he sees the elderly woman feeding the ducks. He's hiding behind a tree like a creep and shouts to her, hey, can I take your photo? She turns to look at him, immediately jumps into the pond to swim to the other side. Yeah. And Herman is confused by the old-fashioned bathing suit, which was simply a dress.
Yeah. And then he goes from there, he walks away, and this is where we get the statue of Boone.
Daniel Boone.
And as soon as they walk up to or get a shot of it, I'm like, oh, that's a person. I bet they get scared from Herman.
Like, that is a performance artist being a living statue. Why is there a statue of Daniel Boone in California? I did a report on Daniel Boone, and he, as far as I remember, he was a lot in like Kentucky and West Virginia and then Texas.
Maybe there was something big going on with his storyline then. Maybe he had like a movie out, Daniel Boone movie in the 60s.
I have no idea. It just confused me, but hey, this is a great scene regardless.
Yeah.
So he gets, he goes to take a photo of Daniel Boone, which Boone loses his hat, shoots his gun, shouts holy mackerel, and runs off. Which, by the way,
a Daniel Boone movie coming out in 1966, so it would have been about a year after this. So they were probably shooting at the time.
Okay.
So they probably were like, "Hey, remember this guy?" And then there was a Daniel Boone movie in 1950 and 1956. So it was surrounding this entire time period.
Well, all anyone needs to know is the hat is a lie. He never wore that. So Herman says he's got to go to the bank because there's always something interesting to shoot there.
That's the little puns, man. The puns.
Yeah. Which, okay. So we saw a stuffed gorilla come to life at the site of Herman before. Is this another example of something coming to life, or was this a performance artist who ran for their life?
I assumed it was a statue the whole time.
That's what I kind of feel like that's what it was meant to be, but it's kind of like, I don't know.
Scaring objects to death, he scares them to life.
Yeah.
That could be a good thing.
Yeah. Then we cut.
No, nowadays we'd have series spinned off of the Daniel Boone statue that came to life.
Oh, wow. How would Siri react to the Munsters? Would they even have internet? Rob Zombie. We cut back to the manor, and Eddie's brushing Spot's tail through a hole in the stairs, or through the hole in the stairs. Sorry. We know there's a hole in the stairs.
Yeah.
Lily asks him, hey, can you go out and get the afternoon paper? And he's like, hey, I'm not done brushing Spot yet. And she's like, I'll just finish later. Spot is not happy by this. He takes his tail and pins Eddie to the stairs. And Lily's like, look, let him go and I'll give you a manhole cover to eat with dinner.
Yeah.
And he seems to agree with this, just crawls back into his den.
I just find that he's funny. He's brushing Spot's tail. There's no hair there, the brush. But maybe he likes the scratchingness of it. So I guess we'll go with that. Yeah, Eddie runs off, and then we go down to the dungeon where Grandpa and Herman are
looking at his pictures.
What's that thing that they used to do back in the day?
Polaroid?
No, when they used to. Oh man, my words are leaving me today. Anyways, they're getting the pictures developed. Thank you. Why did that leave my brain?
The red room.
Wow. Our previous guest Mosier is going to be so mad about that. Me forgetting that word. All right.
Well, the first one is a picture of an empty lake, which it's funny. The ducks are even gone in the photo.
Yeah. I noticed that. I was like, shouldn't there be ducks there at least? Anything? Yeah. Or the water splashing?
Herman's just like, she wanted to go for a swim. The second one is of a pedestal with no statue on it.
Realistically, though, in that photo, knowing how long it took Herman to take a picture of his family in his house, that's probably why there were no ducks. They just left after half an hour waiting.
So the second one is of a statue pedestal. And Herman's like, look, Daniel Boone was right there, but he's either camera shy or had to be somewhere in a hurry.
Yeah.
But the third photo, and can I just add, I love the fact that they didn't throw anything in. We saw both of these photos being taken. The third photo has people in it.
It's
two people.
Bank.
Yeah, outside of a bank. And Grandpa's like, oh, you know who they are? And Herman's like, people at the bank. And Grandpa Jen's like, these guys have guns. They robbed the bank.
Herman was like, well, they must have been in a hurry because they kept the money in the sack. And they even kept the pens. Like when you write your deposit pens and stuff like that. So, yeah.
So then cut to the robbers reading the afternoon paper, which mentions an unknown photographer on the scene of the robbery. And one of the guys like, hey, I remember him. He was next to that weird hearse looking car. Yeah. And his partner's like, oh yeah, there can't be many of those in town. Let's go find him. I put him 6 feet under.
Yeah.
Why? Just leave town.
Or just pay him off. You don't even know. He's just a photographer. A lot of shitty photographers out there. Trust me.
I mean, he wouldn't have accepted it, but they still could have tried.
Maybe he's a paparazzi. Just pay him off. Paparazzis love money for photos of shit that they shouldn't be taking photos of.
Yeah.
So then we go to Lily sitting, and I shouldn't have said that. We go to the living room with Lily sitting there with the paper, and she's trying to convince, or basically like tell Herman, you're the fucking photographer.
Oh,
without telling Herman you're the photographer.
Anyone who's watched a SpongeBob episode or knows the SpongeBob memes, the Patrick wallet. This is very Roman. There's a lot of stuff in this episode that reminds me of other things.
Yeah.
And she's like, look, you took a picture of two men. He's like, yeah. Two men robbed the bank. Yeah. It's like, look, can you put 2 and 2 together? He's like, yeah, it's 4. She's like, no. He's like, well, I know it is. It's 7.
I mean, he's not wrong.
Unless this is that new math I've heard about.
Yeah.
And she's like, all right, listen, I'm going to read more of this and see if it helps. Herman looks so scatterbrained. And it is amazing the look that Fred is giving him in this episode, this scene.
She then goes on and says, well, what time were you, at the bank? And he's like, around 3-ish.
Around 3.
And the paper says the bank was robbed approximately 3 p.m. And she's like, now, Herman, you were there at 3. The bank was robbed at 3.
There was an unknown photographer.
She's
you have a photo of 2 people with guns.
Yeah.
And he's staring at the photo. He jumps up. He's like, I'm a hero. She's like, yeah, you might end up a dead one. And he's like, no, I might get a reward.
Yeah.
He's like, I have a feeling that I'm finally going to get it.
And this annoyed me because he's like, I've never gotten a reward in my life.
He has turned down so much.
Last season, they've literally gotten $5,000 in rewards multiple times, not to mention all the rewards that they were like, yeah, no, we don't need that.
Yeah.
Or when he was actually a hero in the park, when they thought that he was the bad guy and he saved the day.
Yeah, the monster running around.
Like, I don't need the fame or anything like that. So, yeah. Anyways.
So now we see the robbers walking up to the Munster coach. And might I add, the coach is still looking hot rodded out.
Mm-hmm.
I have a feeling maybe that's going to be the new look going forward, because the old one was kind of like, we still see the back attachment in the opening and closing credits, but we haven't really seen it in an episode yet. So I'm wondering if that's gone because it was like so impractical.
Maybe.
Because the one that I saw up at the convention was also this converted hot rod version. But anyway,
I think the back just folds up and down, though. That's all it is.
Does it?
Yeah. It's an accordion top.
Oh, I've never.
Folds up and down. If that's what you're talking about, the way back part.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an accordion piece. It's kind of like a convertible.
Really?
It just folds down. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Now, I think when they first introduced it, I don't think that they ever did that to it. No. But now they do.
I've not seen that on screen that I can recall.
Yeah. So, then
that's cool. I didn't know that.
Are we at the part where the guys go to his house now?
Yeah. They're at his house and they're getting ready to shoot him. So Larry's like, hey, you need to call the police. I'm going to go make lunch.
Yeah.
So he's heading to the phone and someone's knocking at the door. Well, you can't be rude. You got to answer the door. And the robbers meet Herman for the very first time. He's like, hey, how's it going? And they're like, I think we have a bad hangover. So, did you happen to get a photo of that robbery earlier today?
Yeah.
We're from a local paper and we'll pay you. He's like, oh,
bucks.
Yeah, I was about to call the cops. Thank you for saving me 10 cents. He's like, okay, here's the photo. He's like, wait a minute, you two look familiar. He's like, were you at the kiddies matinee last Saturday? And both men just like shake their head in unison. Like, look, we'll give you $100 for the photo. And Herman's like, oh, he like shakes the guy's hand. He's like, it's a deal. And then he looks down at the photo. He's like, hey, you guys kind of look like the two in the photo, even down to the same clothing. Why didn't they change?
Maybe they don't have.
He's like, he's like, look, are you sure we didn't know each other from the Kitty's matinee? And they both shake their head in unison.
And they go and pull their guns out. Yeah. Right at that moment. And it's like, crap.
Yeah.
So they're like, we fade away to the radio, and then we just have the whole family sitting on the couch now, as like the beginning of the movie. And we have the two gunmen just sitting there, just staring at them like, what the hell are we gonna do?
The radio's like, they're possibly hiding out in a private residence until the heat wears off. So the two robbers are sitting there, and then they start talking to each other. We're gonna have to hide in your house until the heat wears off. Like, the freaking radio is just giving them ideas at this.
Right.
And the way everyone is just staring at each other too.
Grandpa looks annoyed, but then they go and say, well, you know what, you guy are freaking us out. Like, go
this is awkward.
Go do what you normally do and everything, and day-to-day things. Just no
funny business though.
And then she Lily's like, are you sure? Like, we could just do what we would normally go ahead and do? And they're like, yeah, just go do it. She's like, all right, but first.
She's like, yeah, first things first. She like walks in front of everyone to the edge of the table, takes the camera off Herman, which I want this gif so bad of Herman's face, because he has the hugest smile on his face, just staring at her. She takes the camera, whips it onto the coffee table, and his smile turns into the saddest look.
Yeah. I honestly thought they were going to throw it in the fire, but
that's what I thought too.
But that's a little bit worse, because then she gives it back to him as it's smashed like a maniac. So then we go from there to Eddie's back playing the accordion. The guys are
the
organ, yeah, accordion. Ugh.
Yeah, as smoke blasts him in the face.
Yeah.
The robbers are just staring.
They're like, what the heck? They walk off. We get Herman walking with a giant bone.
They're like, what are you doing with that?
I'm just going to feed the family pet, he says. And he opens up Spot's area there.
Yeah.
And freaks them out with that.
They run to the back room where Grandpa, we see the Invisible Man is back.
Yeah, the Invisible Man returns.
They're playing poker in the back room.
Yep. We haven't seen him since season 1, like the first
where they get the monster coach, isn't it? Where he drops the Lily off at the car dealership.
I thought we saw him like 1 or 2 more times after that in the house.
We may have, but
not like
I don't
a
recall.
lot. So it wasn't. We haven't seen him since the very beginning of season 1.
Yeah,
for sure.
they're freaking out at this point. They go to the dining room where Lily and Marilyn are talking. They're like, I just finished tarnishing the candelabrum, and Lily is pleased by this. She's all right, I'm gonna turn them on then. She hits a light switch on the wall, like a dimmer, and flame shoots out of the candles, and they're like, they have had enough. The one robber is like, I'm ready to turn myself in. Like, I want to get the hell out of this house, which first of all, why? This house is fascinating. And the other guy's like, no, that's what they want us to do. They're trying to drive us insane. So they call all the family to the living room again and tell them to sit on the couch. And there's a great little struggle here for a moment with Grandpa and Herman on both ends of the couch, like knocking people into each other to make room.
Yeah.
And then Kitty walks in, who we haven't seen for a while either. And they're like, oh, look at the cat. They go to pet it. It roars at them. That's it. That's the last straw with those two. They're full on not having any more.
Yeah, they don't give a crap. They're done. They tell them, all right, everyone back to the couch. Like, now. You can get there. Let's go. They think everything's the big giant ruse to get them to be freaked out and stuff like that, so that they leave.
Yeah,
and they're just not having it.
We cut to a bit later where they're just all the family members are reading stuff. Grandpa has a newspaper. Marilyn looks like possibly a college textbook. Eddie has, I can't tell, maybe a magazine. Lily has the Tomb and Garden again, that home magazine that we keep saying, and Herman is reading a comic book. The robbers. Oh, go ahead.
I said it's suitable.
Yeah. The robbers leave the room and everyone but Herman notices. They like turn to look, then they turn back and stare at Herman. And he is too absorbed in this little Orphan Annie story to care.
Yeah.
He's like, he begins apologizing. He's like, look, I was just trying to have fun. I didn't mean for this to happen. All right. Lily cuts him off and he's like, look, Grandpa has a plan. What is Grandpa's plan, Myke?
Grandpa's plan is for him to go down into the dungeon and take his pigeon transformation and transform himself. Well, first he's going to write a note to the police. Then he's going to transform himself into a homing pigeon, which goes to, home. And the home will be the police station, which is where he will drop the note off so the police know that the crooks, the robbers, whatever you want to call them, are in their house at 1313 Mockingbird Lane. And then to be able to do this, they tell Herman to go and distract these crooks. And Herman does
like,
do a great job.
Why me? And Lily's like, go do it. And he's like, all right.
and he goes in there too. And it's funny because they're like, what are you doing here? And he's like, oh, I'm just not a distraction. What is this? What do they say exactly that he is? He's crap. I don't remember the word. But he basically tells them, oh, stall. He's stalling. That's what he says. He goes in there and he's like, I'm a stalling. I mean, I just came in here to see if you guys wanted any milk.
Then they go to walk past him. Like, he's being suspicious. Let's check the room. He's like, wait.
Guys are super smart compared to most of the criminals that go in their house. So.
Like, hold on. Have you heard the joke about the astronaut and the Playboy bunny?
Yeah.
They just go under his arms. And he laughs to himself. He's like, that would have been a good one. Well, he's like, oh no, they got away.
He said, I wish you had, because I think it would have been a good one, because I think it's in regards to him not even hearing it before.
Yeah, no, it's a joke he wants to be told.
Yeah.
And then he realizes that they got past him and he gets super upset.
Yeah. And then they run out into the living room or family room, and Grandpa's not on the couch, and you're like, where's the old bat? Like, where's the old man hat? I'm like, what old man? They're all playing dumb, and it's awesome.
They pretend like there was never an old man.
There's never an old guy here. What are you talking about?
And
which would make sense too, because I don't think they actually conversed with Grandpa ever. So it could be an easy way to freak him out. And they just keep going about it. And
unfortunately for the family, Grandpa left the trap door open, which one of them realizes at that exact moment instead of when they walked past it into the room.
Yeah. And then we go down to the dungeon where Grandpa is going through all the different potions to turn himself into a homing pigeon. He's got stool, tame, fantail, wild, carrier, tumbling, pouting, and homing. Yeah.
Why does he never alphabetize his potions? It drives me crazy.
Because then you wouldn't be able to see all of them before he gets to the one that he needs. Because every time it's the last one that you need. usually for him because they want to show you off. It's a gag. It's the gag, man. They just want to show off everything. And why not? I mean, you got the set. Just show it all off.
So the robbers run down to the lab. Grandpa's down there getting ready to drink his potion. He's got the note tucked away in his pocket.
Yeah.
And like, what are you doing? He's like, I'll just make it a cocktail. It's cocktail hour for me.
Yeah.
The nervous robber grabs it. And he's like, look, I need this real bad. And his partner's like, no. It could be poison. What are you talking about? The old ghoul was about to drink it himself. His partner's like, yeah, all right. Yeah, go ahead and give me some. Grandpa's like, oh, all right. Here's some glasses.
Yeah, Grandpa just pulls out 2 random shot glasses, which are I'm assuming are beakers.
This is where Al Lewis gets menacing.
Yeah. And he just like keeps feeding them as much as they can drink until they turn.
They're like, oh, this isn't bad. They can't fly on one wing. Give me another. And Grandpa's like, all right. And then they explode into pigeons. And he's like, through the smoke, you just see Al Lewis's face. Like, call me and all cool, will you? I'm like, oh God, he's going to kill them.
What are you talking about? Pigeon soup, bro. Pigeon soup.
He instead shoos them upstairs, but like that could have ended so horribly for you two. You have no idea.
Oh, if it was me, I would have made the pigeon soup joke. Like, Lily, I got dinner. So then, Grandpa goes up, or we see the police station where they're trying to figure out where these 2 guys are still. And then they get a phone call from Grandpa, which we call him Grandpa Munster. Should we keep calling him Grandpa Munster? He's Grandpa.
Most of the family does.
He's just Dracula. There, we're just gonna call him Dracula.
No, his last name is Dracula. He's the Count.
Sam Dracula. Then how about that? So Grandpa's on the phone with the police station telling them, hey, your crooks they're about to come in and everything. And they're like, oh yeah, they're just gonna fly on into here, right? And he's like, yeah,
another prank call.
And then the 2 pigeons flying into the desk, and they're like, oh my goodness, like 2 pigeons just flew in. And he's like, oh, they're there. Awesome. And then he like does his magic through the phone.
A smoke comes out of the transceiver, not the receiver end, which annoys me.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just easier that way, I guess. I don't know.
It doesn't.
Even in the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, Freddy's tongue always came out of the bottom of the phone, not the top. Where
that never made sense to me.
So, but yeah, so the smoke comes out and poof, now there are 2 grown men right there, and these people aren't batting an eye. They jump and grab them and arrest them right away.
Yeah. And they even have like the photo on them for evidence. Look, they came with their own evidence.
That would make a really good movie. Like this episode would make a pretty cool, like intense movie, I think, of them just showing up. Maybe a comedy movie, like a comedy drama. A dramedy. There we go.
Well, after this, Grandpa's in the living room getting praise from the entire family. He's like, hey, wait. Where's Herman? Why isn't he here kissing my butt too? And they're like, oh, he's going to clean up the lab. And Grandpa jumps. He's like, I left the pigeon potion out. He's like, oh, he's not dumb enough to drink. Boom. And a pigeon flies out of the basement and starts yelling around, darn.
And then they go, because it's a homing pigeon too. So I thought he would just fly around. The bird said then Herman does that. He does the darn. And then we get the last line of the show is from Charlie the Raven. I don't know what he said. Do you know what he said?
Lily goes, that's my bird brain husband. And the Raven comes out. He's like, you call that a bird? And the family starts laughing.
Okay. I couldn't understand that. I could not understand that at all for some reason. But that makes sense. Awesome.
This was a fun little story. Like,
yeah,
I had a good time with it.
Trying to make sure I did all my notes. Most of my notes were like, oh, Invisible Man's back and Yay.
There was a lot of surprises in this episode.
Yeah. All right. What do you got for me then, man?
I have no trivia for this one.
No trivia.
So
you want to do final thoughts on this episode then before we jump in?
Yeah, I kind of already did. I had fun with it. It was I wouldn't say it's my top episode for me, but it's just definitely near there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I agree. I agree too, where it was a fun episode for sure. So yeah.
So we move on to Herman, Coach of the Year, Season 2, Episode 5. Aired October 14th, 1965. Written by James B. Alderdice, Tom Adair, and Norm Liebman. Directed by Norman Abbott. Guests this episode are Henry Beckman as Ralph, the husband, who eagle-eyed viewers may remember him as Leadfoot Baylor from Hot Rod Herman.
Which makes sense for this episode.
What's that?
Makes sense for this episode.
Yeah, it does. We have Emmeline Henry, who is uncredited as Gwendolyn, the accident-prone wife. And so before this, she was a main character. She played Norman Grady in Mickey. She even wrote an episode for that show. She also played Kate Dickens, a main character for He's Fenster, and would go on to play Mert before becoming Amanda Bellows for I Dream of Jeannie.
Okay.
So, fans of that show will immediately recognize her.
She looked very familiar, and I was trying to put it, trying to figure out where she was from, and then that hit me once I looked it up. I was like, oh yeah, because she looks a lot like the chick from Bewitched.
Yeah, a bit.
And that's what was confusing me. I was like, wait a minute, that's not, no. And I went into this whole inner thing with myself. I was like, come on, man. Awesome. Any special things with this cast?
Just what I said.
Okay. All
it's
right.
just it's a shame that she was uncredited, since she had 2 big profile shows and then went on to another big profile show. But
yeah,
Hollywood.
I think it's because she's so low in the cast. Maybe, I don't even know. All right, maybe. So
we open
episode 5.
Synopsis.
Episode 5, Herman Coach of the Year, October 14th, 1965, as Tivis said, which when Eddie is called Leadfoot by the other kids on his track team, Herman offers to become his coach. Dun, dun, dun. Hey, at least Eddie didn't, recommend him for the job this time.
Yeah.
Without asking.
So we open with Herman attempting to knock on the door, but instead busting through it.
Yep.
Deciding to just unlock it. And as he walked in, Lily seems a little annoyed by this. He's like, I forgot my key. She's like, oh, it's fine. We'll get a new door in the morning. Who is the custom door maker who is making a fortune off this household? Because they bust that door every other day. He's like, look, I'm sorry for being late today. I got in an argument with a customer over our carrying charges being too high. And Lily's like, that's ridiculous. They're going into a hole 3 to 4 times a week because of their prices.
Yeah.
So Herman's like, oh, how was your day? And she's like, oh, nothing was unusual, except Eddie came home screaming that he was gonna or no, that's a different story. Eddie came home and ran into the den, and he hasn't come out since. Herman's like, all right, I'll talk to him. So he opens up Spot's hidey hole, and Eddie's in there. Look, they're not happy with me. I'm terrible at track. Everyone keeps calling me Leadfoot.
Yeah, and his dad's like, I don't, he's not very reassuring in this moment.
No,
At all.
Lily is appalled, and Herman's like, "Look, first thing in the morning, we're going to begin training." And he's like, "Well, can you do that?"
He's like, "Sure,
and
why not?"
Herman's like, "I'll train you so well, you'll be graceful like me." Then he sticks his hand through the wall, grabs the chandelier cord, yanks it out of the wall, and causing it to crash into the top of his head.
Yeah, he lets it go, and then it drops down on the top of his head. And she's like, "Well, maybe, you'll be a little bit more graceful."
Lily just turns to Eddie, and he's like, "See, this is a learning lesson. You can't win them all."
Yeah.
And there was no logo this episode. I was happy.
Well, you're welcome, I guess. They heard you. In 1965, they heard you.
It just didn't look good. I'm sorry. Over the house, yes. Over the cast, stop it. So
then we get into Lily's vacuuming dirt,
reverse vacuuming the house.
And Grandpa comes up there, and he's just trying to get her attention, so he just like zaps the vacuum.
Yeah, he's like, magic,
just turn it off, bro. Like, just turn it off. But instead, he uses his magic to turn it off, and it's like, hey, where's all these knuckleheads at, basically? And she tells him that they're outside, and Herman's training Eddie and everything like that. And then Grandpa's like, all right, I don't remember any funny jokes at this moment.
Well, Lily's like, he wants to turn Eddie to be a carbon copy of himself. And Grandpa's like, that's impossible. Men like Herman are made, not born.
Yeah, that's okay.
So he goes to turn away, and Lily's like, hey, vacuum? And he's like, oh, yeah. So she's back to dusting the house.
Mm-hmm. In the matter of speaking,
in the literal sense. So we cut to outside, and Herman is about to throw a shock put as Grandpa laughs at him at his form. He's like, "Oh yeah, watch this." So he like twirls and tosses the ball, and it flies off. Now this may seem familiar. You might be saying to yourself, this looks a lot like Herman, the rookie, when the baseball goes flying and hits that guy in the head. And that's because it is. It's the exact same footage. And as it
like
flies off,
Grandpa just like didn't think that he was going to do good at all.
Well, an earthquake immediately happens.
Yeah.
After it lands, which that's a terrifying thing. They live in California. You saw the doctor's reaction a couple episodes ago.
They're dead already. It doesn't matter to them. They're Munsters.
There is that coming up. That might be coming up. Little spoiler.
So then
I can't remember what order we record these in.
Right. So Herman then grabs the discus to toss, and he's like getting ready to do it, and he actually has decent form, man.
Yeah, he does.
He had good form on the shot put too. So but then Grandpa runs over there and is like, no, what the hell are you doing? Like, this isn't how you're gonna get him trained properly.
Yeah. Let's use magic. It's quicker.
Right.
Everyone's like, no. I'm gonna teach Eddie honesty, integrity, and hard work. That's the right way. Grandpa goes, how did I get stuck with you? Why do you always want to do things the hard way? So he storms off into the house, and Herman like looks at Eddie. He's like, you want to earn this on your own merits, right? And he's like, yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
So he's like, all right.
He tries this like random like jumping thing. I think it was supposed to be a long jump is what he was doing.
Yeah, that's what it is. I have broad jump, and I used to do track, so I remember like a lot of these ones.
But
I confused myself with my notes.
Just this long jump, hop, and not a jump. He's just hopping like a bunny.
Yeah.
And then he gets stuck into the ground. This is when we then go to see.
Well, he's like, "Can you help me out here? I think I might have broke into the water pipe."
Oh yeah. This is when we go see his damage he had created on the car by the shot put, and this is when we see our two guest actors there, and she's like, "It just came out of the sky, and it hit the. Oh yeah, great. Well, that's what insurance is gonna like to hear.
Yeah, they're gonna believe this.
Yeah, he's a dick."
Then we cut back to Grandpa helping Lily and Marilyn sew clothes, and he's like, "It's it's real handy that you're here to help us." He goes, Grandpa's like, "Well, with Herman in the family, you kind of develop a knack for it."
Yeah.
It's fair, Grandpa. That's fair. Herman is outside. He's like, "Look, I'm going to show you how to throw this discus now." Finally, we're getting to the discus. Yeah. He turns around, spins like a top, and throws it. And once again, you might be saying, "Hey, this footage, it looks like a football being thrown." Because it is. It's the same footage again from Herman the rookie.
They just couldn't film like him throwing the discus or what? Like,
I don't know.
Funny.
But yeah, so, and he's like, "Well, how do you plan on getting that one back?" And Herman's like, "It's okay. I put my name and address on it." And they're like, "Oh, so this is how the guest characters are come into the main story."
Nope.
No. This never comes back around. He's like, "Look, let's practice pole vaulting now." He picks up a pole. So then we get back inside with Grandpa pleading to Lily, like, "Let me use magic on the kid. Like, Herman is wrong." And then Herman busts through the balcony doors. And well, look, do you think you might be pushing Eddie a bit beyond his abilities? And Herman then goes on a rant about how he's spending his free time doing this, but it would mean nothing. He's like, I'm like, "Dude, this is your son. What's wrong with you?" Then he goes, "But that would mean not fulfilling my obligations as an American father." I'm like, "Oh, okay, good. This went somewhere."
Yeah.
Thank God.
Yeah.
And if you notice the pole that he's holding in this room, it's very different from the one he had outside. It is not the same one.
Mm-hmm. Also, I will say it's not just the American father, it's just a father.
It's what you should do. So as he leaves, Lily goes, "There goes a fine husband with a dreamy look." Marilyn, also with a dreamy look, goes, "There's a fine father." That's a bit weird. And then Grandpa, with pure disbelief on his face, "There goes a nutcase."
Hey, Marilyn's not related to him by blood. It's fine.
It's still weird. So we find out what happened to the discus now.
Yeah. Then we go back to our two guests, and the discus has gone through the windshield of
a flying saucer had crashed through the window.
Yeah.
And he's like, the husband's like, "Look, this one makes the cannonball sound almost logical." This poor lady, this dude's an asshole.
Yeah, he is. And then we don't see the discus in this shot.
No, it's just like a hole in the windshield.
So I'm like, where are the discus and where is the shot put ball? Because it's like now they're just gone.
Odd.
No, they disappeared.
So, Eddie comes in after doing the, what was it, the pole vault or whatever it was?
Mm-hmm.
I forget what it was called already. It's like, "Well, did you clear the bar?" And Grandpa's like, "Yeah, he cleared right under it."
Yeah.
So Herman's been having to practice 3 events today, and he's only gotten worse. So Eddie looks real dejected as he's walking into the house. He's like, "Look." Oh, Herman comes in. He's like, "Let's go for a cross country run." And he's like, No. Eddie has had enough.
He's like, he's so tired. He just can't do it. So then Herman goes off, and is this when Herman makes him his big meal?
It's coming up.
Okay.
But he's like, Eddie, we'll finish up with some push-ups, and then you can go shower for the day.
Yeah.
So
this is where Grandpa tells Lily, hey, let's just do this. Let's just give him some shit under the table.
You said you did track, right?
Yeah.
What does all these events have to do with cross country? Are all of these, because cross country, I'm thinking running.
Yeah. You're thinking running.
Yeah.
You do cross country running during a track meet, though.
So do all of these events normally have to do with cross country?
Well, cross country is one event. It's not like the Olympics is the main thing.
Yeah.
Where all the other things are the events during the Olympics. So like that.
I'm just confused because, again, I'm thinking running. I'm like, why is he throwing shot put? Why is he jumping over a pole? Why is there a discus?
Yeah, I didn't understand why they needed all of those other things when his whole thing was being called Leadfoot. So he can't necessarily run fast or something. I'm assuming they don't really say that he can't run fast. They just call him a Leadfoot, which doesn't necessarily mean you're not a fast runner.
Yeah.
So,
but Lily turns to Grandpa. Look, training isn't going to be enough. Make your pill. So, like, Herman's not going to like this, but how strong can you make it?
Mm-hmm.
So, she's in cahoots with Grandpa now against Herman
and her son, because she's going to give her kid something that, he may not actually want.
Yeah, she's going to give him steroids.
They're going to give their kids drugs for no reason.
So Grandpa's downstairs. We get Igor. Where the hell's he been?
Yeah, he's been gone for a while too. So I was glad that we got Igor back. And that was the end of my notes.
So he begins working on his potion, which he's like, I'm going to make a pill. Let's start this potion. What? All right. So he throws in a derby from Kentucky, a feather from an ostrich, the fastest bird. Igor disapproves, but Grandpa's like, what do you know? You're just a rat who joined the Transylvania Air Force. A bit of lint from the pouch of a kangaroo. That's gross. There's no lint in that. There's slimy bugs and bacteria. They're gross. Don't ever look up what the inside of a kangaroo pouch looks like.
It's dried out, so it's lint.
No, that would just be dead skin cells. And greased lightning, which he shoots from the tip of his fingers, like Emperor Palpatine.
He would make a good Emperor Palpatine.
Yeah, he would. Just being Grandpa makes him better.
Yeah.
Then he begins. He's like, all right, I'm going to make this potion into a pill. Where's my pill converter? So he grabs that, sets it on the table, just opens an umbrella, and he's like, Igor, get under this. You'll see in a minute. Then there's an explosion, and it begins raining pills. He's so happy that a mad scientist has done it again.
And then we go back up where he's telling Lily about his little experiment gone right. So far.
Yeah, and Lily's kind of getting cold feet about it.
Yeah.
He's like, magic is a Dracula family tradition. I feel vindicated for calling them all Draculas now, by the way. So then he begins selling the idea to Lily, and she gives in. She's all for it. So now we get the shot of Herman and Eddie, where he's like,
made them like this huge ass meal.
Yeah, where Eddie's like, I'm full after you made me eat all this other stuff. He's trying to get him to bulk up on calories.
Yeah, protein. Baby.
So he's like, Eddie's like, I don't have my track shoes, and I'll go get them. And Herman's like, no. I know this trick. I'll go get them. I'm like, Herman, you just fell for the trick. This food's going to Spot. And sure enough, it went to Spot, who was so happy to eat it. He takes a bite out of the plate.
Yep.
So Herman comes back. He's like, oh, whoa, you finished that in record time. But you got a bit careless with your mom's bone china. She's not going to be happy about this.
Yeah. And Grandpa walks in behind him and he hides the plate under the table.
He hides it so Eddie doesn't get in trouble. Good parenting.
And this is where Grandpa tries to pose the idea of a vitamin or of sorts for Eddie. And what's the worst that a vitamin can do? It's not going to mess with your diet. And Herman has a disagreement that he's on a strict diet, this and that. Grandpa insists, so eventually he's just like, all right, fine, what's one little pill gonna do?
Yeah,
let's try it. And he gives the pill to Eddie, and then Eddie's like, oh yeah, hey Pop, I still don't have my track shoes. And he bolts upstairs or he bolts into the closet and then upstairs, and he still can't find them. And then eventually he finds his shoes in where did he find his shoes? They were in another closet, right?
I don't remember. I
think they were just in another closet. Yeah.
No, he not only grabs his shoes, he runs outside, scales the fence, and bolts down the road.
Yeah.
Which is all right. First of all, I expected him to be wearing the shoes on his feet. And that was the whole point. Is Herman was never going to find them.
I'm also like curious, did they give Eddie speed? like what the hell are they doing? So then
well, clearly Grandpa tapped into the Speed Force.
Right.
But then again, we have seen Herman run like this before. So
yeah, maybe
it's just genetic. You never know. So then we cut to Herman cleaning off the mantle above the fireplace. Like, this is where we're going to put all the trophies. And Lily's like, don't overshadow your son today, especially when they asked to take the photo. And he's like, don't worry, I'll tell him to take it without me. Then I'll become a interesting human peace story. So Grandpa runs in. He's like, the pills are gone. I was like, pills?
What pills? Like,
he's like, how can they be gone? Pills. Like, they're vitamin pills. Calm down. It's okay. Yeah. And Grandpa's like, they're what gave him his speed. And Herman's, don't take my thunder. Lily. Lily's like, no, it's true. And Herman thinks she's lying.
Yeah.
You made it up. She shakes her head. It isn't true. Grandpa nods his head. It was my coaching. She shakes her head again. There aren't any pills. You're making this up. Grandpa shakes his head. He then repeatedly screams it's a lie before slightly stomping into the floor. Yeah. And then he's like, did you check the kitchen? And Grandpa nods. He's like, they're gone.
Did you check the kitchen? Are you sure we don't have any more pills? Are you sure? Are you sure, man? Come on, man. I need my pills, man.
He's like, Grandpa goes, maybe he has enough built up in his system that'll carry him through the meet.
Right.
So now we got the family in the state. I just love that interaction between all of them. It's like, it's not true. Yeah. Tell me it's a lie. Nope.
Damn true.
Yeah. So the family's in the stands, worried for Eddie as Herman sits on the field bench, not wanting to look. He's like burying his head in his hands. And then the track begins, and Eddie zooms ahead. He bolts to the finish as Herman burying his head in his hands, like, he won? Yeah, Eddie gives Herman the okay symbol, and Herman gives it back. Eddie then wins next event, and and Herman's just looking on with pure pride on his face. And, then he just actually tells Eddie he's proud of him. And he's like, Eddie goes, I feel bad. I wish you could have coached the rest of the team. I think you could go give number 14 over there, I think is the number, I don't remember, a pep talk. I'm like, I know what's going to happen here. He's going to give him a pep talk. All right. He's like, okay. So he goes over there. He's like, hey, kid turns around. At that moment, the race starts. He just wins by a mile and doesn't stop. He's gone. That kid is gone. He is now property of the California wildlife. So Eddie's on the sidelines like, wow, my dad's coaching is the best. Now we get back to the house where Eddie wonders what pills Grandpa's looking for. And Lily's like, oh, it's those vitamin pills you were taking. And Herman, for some reason, he's like, pills? Like we had this whole conversation.
Right.
So Eddie's like, oh, yeah, I got a lot of those. He takes like this box that he's been hiding them in from under the couch. They were gross, so I stopped taking them, which means he did this all because of Herman's training. Once again, Herman proves that he is a good parent, and yet, everyone doubts him. And
yet they still don't acknowledge it.
No, they don't.
Like when he ran away and Herman was like, he'll be back. They doubted him. They doubted Herman then. They doubt Herman now. Herman, I stand with Herman.
Yeah. And Herman laughs hysterically in Grandpa's face, which is amazing because it's very rare that he actually gets one up on the old man. Lily takes it and like, we don't need this, throws it out the window. Like, yeah, I'm sure Spot's not going to find that and terrorize the neighborhood. Why would you think anyone will eat that? So Lily's like, no more magic for Eddie. He's going to grow up a normal, average American boy. And Grandpa goes, why? Have you seen them? And Herman's like, oh, those pills were fake anyway. And Grandpa's staring at him like, I'm going to kill you. So outside, a cat that isn't Kitty begins eating the pills. And the reason I mention it's not Kitty is because as a dog comes up, the cat roars like Kitty.
Yeah.
The dog gets so scared, it runs and climbs up a tree.
Yeah, they made sure to make it not a black cat too, so that we knew that it wasn't the cat.
Yeah.
Munster's cat.
It's like an orange tabby.
Yeah.
And then we get the final shot of our guest couple as she had crashed into a telephone pole after seeing a cat chase a dog up a tree. And her husband says she is no longer allowed to drive before ripping the steering wheel out and chucking it. And that is just how we end the episode.
Yeah. On an abusive husband.
Yeah. Oh, that's a problematic relationship.
Yep. Yeah, that's how we end the episode. So what do we got for this one, my man?
This is like, I didn't find this as good, like as entertaining as a story, but I loved the interaction between Herman and Grandpa specifically in this. I like their little rivalry in the episodes that they get spotlighted in is always fantastic.
I think everyone can tell that you loved this episode a lot because I didn't say much.
I know I was trying to speed through it. I'm sorry. We're running pretty long.
You're good. But yeah, no, I enjoyed this episode as well. And but I enjoyed it mostly for the facial reactions than anything. Between Herman and Grandpa, their facial reactions towards each other in this episode were a lot better than what we've seen in some of the previous episodes, because they showed like both happiness, anger, all that crap, you know. So I was intrigued by that. So, yeah, Grandpa really wanted to kill Herman, by the way.
Yeah, he did. What he called the Phil's fake.
Yeah. So, all right. Any last things for this episode?
Yeah. My wife collects bone china, which I don't get, but her grandma was from Britain and like straight up from Britain. She moved to Canada and then to the States. So she had a thing where if it's not tea and bone china, it's not worth drinking. She called it titty water. Something I didn't know is bone china is made up of 30% phosphate, which is derived from animal bone at a minimum, which is I kind of figured when it's called bone china, but
yeah,
still gross to me. I don't like tea, so I don't care. I tell her it's gross stuff. Lily compares Grandpa to David Brinkley when he's explaining his plan to help Eddie. David Brinkley was known as a writing simple declarative sentences, the exact opposite of me, which gained him the reputation of being one of the medium's most talented writers. So a little history.
Okay. Awesome, man. Anything else then with that?
No, that's all I got.
All right. Then with that, what are we watching next week, man?
Next week we have Happy 100th Anniversary and Operation Herman.
Operation Herman. Awesome, man. All right. Well, with that said, guys, we hope you enjoyed today's episode, and don't forget to email us at TheMunsterCast@outlook.com for any questions, concerns, or anything, especially your stories. It was nice to hear Tivis's story on meeting some of the new cast members for the Rob Zombie film. If you have any of those, let us know what you thought of some of those guys, if you've met them and everything like that. So with that said, guys, thank you very much, and we will catch you next time as we take another stroll down 1313 Mockingbird Lane.
The lesson I want you to learn is it doesn't matter what you look like. You can be tall or short, or fat or thin, or ugly, or handsome, like your father. Or you can be black or yellow or white. It doesn't matter. What does matter is the size of your heart and the strength of your character.